Hi, this is Tamara Coleman. How are you today? I just want to let you know that I'm working on getting out of debt. It's not going to be so easy for me because I had put myself, once I was out of debt, but I put myself back in debt because I wasn't paying attention. There was a time where I was $32,000 in debt. Yeah, I know, right? $32,000 in debt. And how did I get out the first time? Well, of course, using the Word of God as my backbone, and allowing God to teach me how to get out of debt. And I've also listened to the radio a lot. So I like listening to WFIF 1500, and they have like Larry Burkett and more of the financial gurus. But Larry Burkett is no longer here on this earth. He's in heaven with the Lord. But I listen to a lot of financial advice, and they have helped me to get out of debt when I was there. And that was how I got the information on what I need to do to get started. And the process was very long. It took me about 8 years to get out of debt. I didn't want to. I don't even know how I got to that $32,000, but I can tell you this much. After my divorce, after my divorce, I took on my own debt. I said the judge had asked who's going to take this debt and who's not going to take the debt. Well, of course, I raised my hand saying, I'm taking on the debt that belongs to me, and I'm not taking on anything else that's not mine. Well, of course, both of our names were on it, and I knew he wasn't working at the time, so that left me with the debt and the children. And I said, this is going to be a challenge. I didn't want the challenge, but I had to because my name was written on it. And I trusted God to help me get out. So how the Lord had used me to get out of debt is like he allowed the financial gurus to teach me how to move on. Learn to forgive, learn how to forget, sit down, get into business, and things will work out in your favor. So I trusted God. I would take my trusty notebook that I had for many years, one of these type of notebooks, and these are the School Smart one subject notebook, and I would place in all of my information in here and get started. So what I did was, I'm going to give you an example of what I've done. So here is April 2019. I listed all of the information of all the things that all the places that I have to pay, all the companies. So I have a Marymart, Kohl's, Target, Visa, Biggest, and that is a buy now, pay later. I have my K Jordan, that's a buy now, pay later. I have tax collectors, but that's for my car. I have the public library, which I'm supposed to be not having any debt for the public library. It's supposed to have been free. So instead of me going to the mall or going to the movies, spending more money than I should be going to the library and getting free DVDs and whatever I need. And I accumulated a debt because I didn't go and return it back on time. So then I have my internet and I have my Hulu. Now I didn't list any of these here, which I should have done before, but I do have it for the previous month. So like my Amerimark, it's like $291. My Kohl's is $779.89. And my Target is $1,851.74. And then it goes on. And my K Jordan is $218.99. And my tax is like $89. And the library is $20 basically. So what I have done in the past is I would use, and I need to get back to it, but what I have done is I would take these cash envelopes and I would write down every company that I owe, and I would put the names on here, and I will put down at the bottom of here, I owe $800. Now this is not the same as I read before. I'm just giving an exact example. So I said I owe $800 for Kohl's for the month of April 2019. And then I would put down what I want to pay. That's exactly right. I want to pay the whole balance off, but I didn't. So I only paid $50 and they will leave me a balance of $750. But that wouldn't be right because here Kohl's would also charge you an interest fee. And if you don't pay the interest fee, that also go towards your original balance. If I'm late, then I would have to pay the $35 late fee. The $50 is what I want to pay, and then I would have to pay the interest. So what I did was I get a little smarter. I would pay the $50 plus the interest and avoid the late fee. That's what we did. I say we. I said we because it was my children and I who sat down at the table, and I told them we have to beat this clock. We got to find a way to get out of debt. Remember, $32,000 is a lot of money. So that meant a lot of sacrifice. That meant that they had to let go of their not their savings, not their what I've given them for the month or for the week, whatever. But I would say to them, you can't go on any trips. We can't go on and we can't do the things that we want to do. We can splurge every now and then, but we cannot splurge big time. So we had to take our income tax, and we had to sit down every year and figure out what was important at the moment. And at the moment, it was all of the debt. And that is what we had to do. We listed everything that we owed. And I say we because it really wasn't them, but I'm just saying we because that's my family. It was had to do with the husband, it had to do with the wife, and mismanagement of money. We were young, we thought we had it all, we wanted it all, and we was not paying our debts. So now who has the responsibility to paying the debt? It's still the parents. I don't care how you look at it, but now that I said I was going to pay it because he wasn't working and I wanted to enjoy the rest of my life, not paying debt. So I chose to take the income tax, and I started off with the small bills. We had the small amount, and every year we would take on at least 7 of those bills. It took a long time to start seeing a decrease in the amount of money that I had. I mean the amount of bills that I had. It just seemed like it was never going anywhere. As if we started off with the small ones, say like Kohl's was $800. I wouldn't pay the store cards because my kids were using that. And I said, well, if we're still using Kohl's, why are we paying this off in full? That didn't make any sense. So what I would do is I would pay on bills like the buy now, pay later. I would pay those off, and we wouldn't buy now, pay later. We would just use a cash system. If we had it, we had it. If we didn't, we didn't. And they had to understand that that was something that mama had to do. And I stayed. I had 2 jobs at the time. I worked at Kohl's, so that was the reason why my Kohl's bills was up so high, because I always kept shopping every time I went into the store. So it was hard for me to get rid of that debt. So I kind of like moved Kohl's out of the way, but I was just putting Kohl's up there just to show you as an example. So we did the buy now, pay later. We got rid of those. And then we had the car payments and the car repairs. We had little things like more store cards like JC Penney's. And so we really wasn't shopping at JC Penney's. Instead of it just sitting there and they was getting our money, we decide, let's get rid of JC Penney's. Let's get rid of all those store cards, get rid of them first. And as I started, it seemed like forever, like it's like the $32,000 was never, it did seem like it wasn't going down. But eventually we got a breakthrough. When we got our breakthrough, it worked. We kept seeing that the system that we was doing was making sense. So another thing that we had did that made an error was, even though I was using the cash system, I was using checks, and I wasn't watching my spending. And whenever I went to the store, spent more than what I should have, I would bounce a couple of the checks. So that's why I say to you, it's so important that you keep an eye on your system, keep an eye, and when you write a check out, make sure you have the money in the bank, which I did, but I was so used to spending that I was spending more than what I was making. And I bounced a couple of the checks, and that made me more angry because now I had to pay the bank back. What? And then I had to pay, and then I had to turn around and pay the company that didn't get paid. I had to turn around and pay them, and that cost me more money because I was impatient. And it's true. We think that since you send the check out, that is like poof, like the bank got it the next day, and then all of a sudden you don't have to watch your spending because the bank has it. The bank got this, but the bank didn't get their portion, and Kohl's didn't get their portion, and my kids couldn't get their portion. So I've learned a better way, a better system. I started using money orders. Yes, the money orders can run from 75 cents to a dollar. If you go into the bank, it is $5. But I said, listen, if we're gonna lose a little bit more money, as far as when I use the money orders, I'll lose a dollar um, per money order. But that was better than me paying the bank back $35 every time there wasn't money in the account. And I said I bounced a couple of them, and that was my error. And I had to turn around and owe the bank, and still had to turn around and pay for the companies that didn't get paid. That also meant my emergency money that I had saved, I couldn't have emergency money. I had to turn around and pay what I just destroyed, what I just messed up. And the kids are looking at me like, "Your mom, you should be able to figure this out. We need our money. Get busy." And I had to get wiser, and that meant closing the doors, excluding them from the monthly chat that we had every month, trying to figure out what was best for me. And then once the system was working, then I sat them back down and said, this is what we're going to do. So there were times where their friends were outside going places and hanging out and enjoying themselves, and my kids couldn't do it. And that was because the parents were not capable, or we was capable, but we wasn't paying attention to what we were doing. I'm 50 now, so I am actually debt free. I actually got out of debt. I paid off the 32,000. It took me 8 years to do that. My kids now are free from sitting around the table on a monthly basis and listening to me screaming, yelling, crying, and they're trying to console me, and I'm trying to not scream in their faces because I kept my envelope system going, and I kept paying them all off. Now I moved, and when I moved out of the place, from my old place, I moved into the new place, and of course, you needed to get a new look, a new start. That was where the other places where me and my ex-husband was at, and I didn't want any interest. I mean, I didn't want anything that resembled him in my new place because I wanted a new start. So I had to get rid of everything that I had in the past, and throw it out. And as I'm still cleaning, I've been here for 2 years, and I'm still cleaning. I'm seeing things that still belong to him, and I'm tossing that baby. I'm tossing that out the window. I asked my children, "Do they want it?" And they looking at me like, "We don't want that. That's too old, and why would we want it anyway?" Dad's still alive. We could still go hang out with him. But I understand what they're saying. I mean, at least I gave them the opportunity to choose, right? Because I asked them. They didn't ask me. I would have thrown that in the trash when they were sleeping or not sleeping. But I just figured out, you know what? Ask because it's a polite thing to do. Maybe somebody may want it. I didn't want it. But that I'm saying is that I turned around and I accumulated more debt because I moved out of one place, moved into another place, and it was a fresh start for me and my family. And I wanted to do that. Now, when I and I want to go back in time when I had my $32,000 debt sitting in front of me. I had my credit report. My credit report in Equifax TransUnion, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. So when I got my information from the three credit bureaus, um, this generally, you can get it for free, so you don't have to worry about it. Find a way to get it for free. It says it takes up to 60 days, but that was way in the past. Now you can get it within less than 2 weeks. And if you want to get your credit score, you can always get that, and that's going to be a process fee. So I had to obtain a credit. I my a copy of my credit report, and it included my name and my address, social security number, and all the other stuff, and proof of my address. So I had when I finally got it, it was like 12. No, it was like 21 pages. It was, and as it started going down, I was starting to get a little happy, and it just kept going down. And as long as I stayed with my cash envelope using money orders, um, it was working. And it took us about 8 years, maybe a little bit longer. I'm just saying eight because I that's the only number I can think of, probably eight or more. It took us about that, seven and a half, 8 years it took us to get out of debt. So it worked. My kids are now thanking me because we applied the word of God. We used the system that God had for the financial gurus, like I said, Larry Burkett, and there were so many of them out there that I listened to, and I'm so grateful for their intelligence, and they set the bar for me and my kids. And there's so many out there. You can just go on and follow the rules and follow the steps, and don't be embarrassed by the debt that you have. Just keep going. You will see the decrease, and you will see yourself getting out of debt, and then you will be able to go on these trips, and you don't have to look back. Now, and since I put myself back in debt, okay, let me put it like that. So when I was finally debt free, oh my gosh, we went on, we took trips, and we enjoyed ourselves. And when I moved here, I accumulated myself. So I'm like about $8,000 in debt, because I had to buy furniture, and I had to buy the things that I needed. I had to buy beds. And I used the store cards, and I used that. So now I am back to my system again, and I am back to my cash system. Yeah, even though I've gotten better with my checks, I still want to use. I use checks now, and I have a lot of patience. So I wait until the bank has cleared it. I mark it in my book, my trusty handy book, and I'll put down in April 2019 that a mirror mark is, say, like, for example, it was 291.53. I'll put down I paid $53 for the month. And then sometimes you see how this is like right here, I would draw a line across and make it a new line. It'll be like up top here, it would be like $291.53. So I would draw a line. I'll show you. So, and to make it easier, what I would do I would draw a line in the same space here. I draw a line across, and then I would put up top here that I paid $53 here, and then turn around the second 2 weeks later, I'll make another payment, and then I'll put the balance. So now instead of being 291 53, I paid $53 off, so that'd be 294 241, 240. Then I'll make another payment, and I'll pay another $50, and it'll bring it down to $201. You see, I would try to keep it down. I would keep going until I pay off this Amerimark, and then I would just pay the minimum balance of my Kohl's, pay the minimum balance of my Target, pay the minimum balance of my Visa, because these are the three that I'm always using. I would get rid of my figures, my K Jordan. I would pay off my tax, pay off the public library, and have to pay the internet, and I have to pay my Hulu. So you understand? So just pay off what you need. So this, get rid of this one here. This is the Mirror. Get rid of the figures. Get rid of the K Jordan. Pay the taxes. Get rid of the public library and watch what you do, because this should always be free. But because I'm not returning anything, it's supposed to say free. I am accumulating debt here, and that's unnecessary debt. So anyway, that's how I got out of debt. I'm going to be working on my the amount of money that I said, because as I said, 6,000 or 8,000. I'm going to be working on that, and I am going to beat the clock again, and I'll be debt free once more. So that's how my family had got out of debt, and I hope that you can join me and we can have a victory praise. And remember, give God all the glory. So one last thing, I am no on the Tams Runway jewelry box, but I am on the Tams royalty gems for my paparazzi. I sell jewelry for $5, and this is $5, and it's cute little hearts. And anyway, like, subscribe, and share my page. God bless you. Bye. Hopefully I get off the page. I'm not